Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. Time for Spawn Daily. We're up to issue number 39. It is a Christmas issue, actually. So I guess we're about a month late on the timing, but it did come out in 1995 in December. So about a week before Christmas, I think on the 18th. So very much suited for the time of year that it hit stands. Now, that being said, it's going to be a short episode because not much happens in this issue. I mean, I don't think Spawn even has any dialogue. So I certainly don't begrudge McFarlane and Capullo for doing a Christmas issue and for celebrating. I mean, it's a fantastic cover there with Spawn in the Santa hat. It's an iconic image. And the only thing about it is, I just wonder about the timing. 2 issues ago, Alan Moore wrote the issue. We got introduced to the Freak. And last issue, we got Cygor, cybernetic gorilla. Neither one of those were sort of structured the way that McFarlane had been structuring the most recent issues, where we were getting, a little bit of Sam and Twitch, a little bit of Wanda and Terry, sometimes Grandma Blake. We'd get some Jason Winn. We'd get some Violator or the Clown. So we were touching base on all the threads that were going on. And then all of a sudden, 2 issues ago, and again, I get it. It's because McFarlane had Alan Moore writing it, and you're certainly not going to tell Alan Moore how to write a script. And, it was very much focused on the Freak, and we got that flowery language, and it was a great way to establish a characterization of the Freak. And that's just what the issue focused on. And there wasn't a lot of check-in on anything else. And then last issue, with this, again, it really felt like a departure. Great Tony Daniel pencils, but, focused on this haunted castle or haunted mansion with the cybernetic gorilla. And, we did get a little bit of Cagliostro and Spawn, but we didn't really check in on anyone else. We got a scene of Al Simmons and Grandma Blake at the end, but we didn't really check in on everybody. And I mentioned that, it's easy for me. I'm reading them, once a day or whatever. So if I go 3 or 4 days without touching base on a storyline or a plot line, it's no big deal. But it's going to be like 4 months for, the readers who were reading Spawn at the time. And I know you have those little recap paragraphs in the front now, but I don't know, the story structure just feels a little wonky to me. The pendulum's kind of swung, the other way. Early on, we were almost complaining, saying, God, he's reminding us what's going on overly much. Like every single issue, there's a big exposition dump. And now we're not getting those exposition dumps. And, I've been complimenting McFarlane on his writing and maturing as a writer and moving past that. We do have the recap paragraphs in the front. But now he's not referencing at all. He's not even giving us any of those storylines. So it sort of feels like we're treading water a little bit because those storylines aren't getting any progress. So again, it's a minor nitpick. I did very much enjoy this issue. It is a lot of fun. It is very much Christmas. So let me go ahead and share my screen. You'll get a chance to see that cover by McFarlane and Capullo a lot better. And as we turn the page, you'll notice that McFarlane's on the story, Capullo's back on pencils. Tony Daniel did them last month, last issue. So Capullo on the pencils, McFarlane on inks, Tom Orzechowski on letters. Steve Olaf returns for the colors with Quinn Suppley and Oli Optics. And we do get a little bit of a recap there, but you notice the recap just talks about that conversation with Cagliostro and Spawn that we had last issue. It doesn't mention anything about Cygor, the cybernetic gorilla, who had one of his own McFarlane toys. So I think he becomes more important. I think he does show up again, but we'll have to read to find out. But yeah, the recap kind of small there, and it's strange that it doesn't mention anything about Cygor. But again, kind of going to my point of last issue just felt sort of weird and out of place in a lot of ways. But anyway, as we take a look at that first page there, we see the single mother and her 2 children, a girl and a little boy. They're having dinner. It's Christmas Eve. They live in Harlem. The little boy wants to count the presents under the tree again after eating another little snowball. And you can see the kind of the petulant look on the little girl's face. And through a conversation with her mother, we find out her mom's going out to work on Christmas Eve to work her second job. She's a very dedicated mother. Throughout the story, we learn about how hard she works because she's trying to give her kids a better life than she had. But, you know, it's a teenage girl. You know, she's probably like 12, 13 years old. And the last thing she wants to be doing on Christmas Eve is be stuck at home watching her 5-year-old little brother. So you can sort of sympathize with her, but, you know, at the same time, it's tough. It's tough. You know, she's given up part of her childhood and having to take on some familiar responsibilities maybe a little too soon. I mean, you got to give kids a chance to be kids, but that doesn't mean I condone what she does, and you'll see in a second. But we do see her mom. She has to walk in the snow. She shows up at this fancy house, and the woman at the house is not nice. Again, no subtlety from McFarlane here. She berates her for being late, even though this woman, her name's Phyllis, shows up covered in snow. And the woman's saying, you know, I don't care that you're late. Don't be late again. There's hundreds of people who would beg for a job like this. You should show me more respect. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, she's cleaning your toilets. Like, she's your maid. I don't know too many people are begging to clean your toilets. So yeah, it doesn't sit quite right. But the mom is dedicated for sure, as I said, to giving her kids a better life. So meanwhile, back at their apartment, the girl's talking on the phone and hearing about this party and how a boy asked about her, and she makes a decision she's going to go out anyway. And we learn through the thoughts of her brother that this isn't a first time occurrence. She's gone out before when she's supposed to be there watching her brother. So Nadine tells her little brother, hey, it's a special night. I'm going to put on Rudolph, which apparently is like his favorite Christmas cartoon. You can watch it as many times as you want. Just, you know, stay on the couch and I'll be back in a little bit. And she leaves. So again, not the best choice, but, you know, give her a pass. It's Christmas Eve. A boy's asking about her. She's not a parent. She's not responsible. She's a kid. So her little brother, Greggy, is watching this Rudolph, this cartoon. And I should also point out, so drawn by Greg Capullo, Harlem, New York. This little boy's name is Greggy. His mom is named Phyllis. Greg's mom is named Phyllis. So there might be some autobiographical stuff going on here. I'm not sure how much of Greg's life or childhood was like this, but it's something that I thought I would mention because I realized it when I was reading it the first time. So it's kind of interesting. And, you know, for living in Harlem and, you know, not the best neighborhood, I mean, it does look like they have an apartment that's at least clean, you know, even if it's a little run down, it really feels like the mom is dedicated and, you know, obviously working 2 jobs on Christmas Eve, and, you know, they have a tree and there's presents. And so anyway, the little boy's watching a cartoon, and you can tell just by the, you know, look on his face that Capullo gives us how much it means to him and how excited he is about it. So he ends up falling asleep, and he dreams, and he dreams of Christmas, of course, because he's a little 5-year-old, and he dreams of hundreds of presents under the tree and a big shiny red box for his mom that Santa leaves for his mother, and everybody is there. And he's awakened from this dream by the sound of some footsteps on the roof, a lot of footsteps. And so with that 5-year-old imagination that only 5-year-olds have, he thinks, it's got to be Santa, right? Lots of footsteps and the little helpers. Yeah, Santa Claus is here, but who it actually is apparently some thieves who are robbers, bank robbers, I guess. I mean, they've got those classic sacks with the dollar sign on it, you know? So kind of taking a blast from the past there, Greg Capullo, but I didn't mind it. But rather than Santa, it's Spawn. But of course, all this little boy knows is he's got to get to bed, right? He's got to get to bed. He can't be awake when Santa comes, because then he won't leave any presents for you. So he runs and he gets the snowballs, you know, that they made for Santa to put out, and he runs to put them in place. Meanwhile, he's hearing the chains, Spawn's chains from the costume, and to him it sounds like jingle bells, and he puts them out and he thinks, I've gotta go and get into bed so Santa won't skip us. And he actually even sees at one point one of the criminals who apparently has a Santa hat on. He sees him outside. Oh, Santa's helper! I better pretend like I'm asleep. So he jumps in bed, and that helper that he saw, it falls off the roof and gets snagged up by one of the chains, and his bag opens, and there's like a brick of cash, a wad of cash, all bundled up, that drops on the little boy's fire escape. Meanwhile, Spawn's taking out all these guys, and this little boy's hearing it. He's thinking, it must be the reindeers moving around. And then he realizes, oh, I forgot the milk. I forgot to put the milk out. And so he runs to put the milk out. And as he does that, he looks out the window, and Spawn has captured all these bank robbers. And they're all wound up with the chains and some kind of metal. It looks like maybe it's the like the TV antennas that were on the roof of this apartment building. And the little boy looks out, and the silhouette that he sees with these guys all sort of tied up with the chains and the TV antennas and the cape of Spawn, and they're all backlit by the full moon. The silhouette looks like a sleigh being pulled by reindeer. So, again, the little boy thinks it's Santa. He's looking out the window. He expects to see Santa. This silhouette looks close enough, so he's convinced it's Santa. So again, he's counted the presents under the tree hundreds of times. He knows exactly where every present is and whose present goes to what. And so he goes and looks, and everything's the same, right? Now, all credit to his mom. I'm sure she's got a couple presents stashed away that are supposed to be from Santa. And, she was going to come home from her job, and Nadine and Greggy would have been asleep, and she could have put them out under the tree and everything's fine. But that's not the case, because this little boy thinks Santa came and Santa skipped them. And he's welling up. He's sad. Like, where's the present for his mom? That's what he's most concerned about. And he says, well, maybe I can still catch him. And he goes and he throws open the window and he yells out, Santa, Rudolph, come back. Don't go. You forgot my mommy's present. Again, he's not worried about himself. He's worried about his mother. You forgot my mommy's present. He doesn't ask about his present. You forgot my mommy's present. So it's a good lesson. And then he looks down on the fire escape, and he sees this bundle of cash, and he says, you did it. You did. And he's so excited. Even at 5 years old, cash is cash, and it's a big stack. And so he immediately grabs it. He picks it up. He sticks it in a box. He wraps it. He puts it under the tree, and he's got this huge grin on his face. He knows his mom is going to be so happy. His sister's not going to believe that he got to see Santa and he got to see Rudolph, and he's just really excited. It's so cool. So you can imagine the next day when they open the presents, and Nadine, the sister, and his mom Phyllis are just shocked, right? And there's Greg just beaming, and Phyllis she doesn't know what to do. Like, what do I do? Should I give the money back? Where did it come from? And, Greg's like, oh, Santa brought it. And, he left it on the fire escape. And on some level, Phyllis knows it's probably stolen money. She probably should return it. She has a little bit of a crisis of conscience, but ultimately she decides, you know what? I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to do something really special with the money. And so a couple of days after Christmas, she throws a big party for all the people that live in the building. A lot of the families are even poorer than she is. And she makes sure that all the kids have presents and everybody has a good time. All the children get toys and everybody has a nice dinner. And we see a scene there in the kitchen where Phyllis is saying how proud she is of her son. And she's reminding him that you have to remember that all the joy in the room is because of your good heart, and you have to remember what's important in life, which is family and friends, and you never want to forget the ones that you care about. You always have to find time to be with them, because you never know when it might be taken away from you. And as she's saying that, on the last page we see Spawn, and he's looking at a picture of Terry Fitzgerald and Wanda and baby Cyan, and he's covering up Terry's face with his thumb. You could interpret this a couple ways, or maybe you interpret it both ways. Maybe he's covering it up because his last interaction with Terry in Spawn's mind saved Jason Winn's life, and Spawn felt betrayed. So there's probably some animosity, there's some anger there. The other thing is that when Spawn looks at this picture, when Al Simmons looks at this picture, he's probably picturing what he thought his own life would be. It should be him. In his mind, it should be him in that picture, not Terry Fitzgerald. So even without the betrayal, there's probably still some feelings of resentment, some angst, like, I'm sure in a way he's happy that Wanda is happy, and safe and protected, or as safe and protected as she can be. And obviously she's got the child that Al Simmons was unable to give to her. So, there's a level of happiness there, but at the same time, you can't blame Spawn for being downcast. So it's a little bit of McFarlane twisting the knife there. And I do want to go back and point out something on the previous double page spread, which is really a fantastic festive page. As we see the ornaments here, one of them has Terry Fitzgerald and Wanda and Cyan. Another has Sam and Twitch, and then the third has a couple of Spawn's friends from the alleys. So yeah, really great issue, really great art, big panels, fast story, fast paced. As I said, Spawn doesn't even utter a word in it, and it's perfectly fine. It works really well as a Christmas story. That little nitpick that I was saying before, obviously we don't get any movement, any forward momentum on any of the stories that are going on. And that's okay. Why not celebrate Christmas and have a fantastic cover and a Christmas-centric episode, especially dedicated, as you see on the inside the front cover, dedicated to Phyllis Capullo, Greg's mom, and then obviously named after, the character is probably named after her. And as I said, maybe some of Greg's own, experiences growing up in New York. Maybe this might be a little bit autobiographical for him. In terms of the artwork, as I mentioned, the more time that goes on with McFarlane working with Capullo as the inker, the more exaggerated the anatomy gets. Greg had pretty standard anatomy before, but it still works. I don't mind it, but it does look a lot more like McFarlane's art than Capullo's art looked like before. You can especially see kind of the influence here when little Greggy's holding the money, how almost all of his face is in shadow and you just see the eyes and the teeth. That's something McFarlane does a lot, right? Where he'll see somebody's face and the face will be in all shadow, and all you're getting is the eyes and the teeth a lot of times. So again, it works really well. It's very emotional. It's a very festive and bright and fun issue. And it's interesting to see Capullo's art evolve a little bit throughout the run. So I guess we'll see next issue 40, if we get a return to sort of the standard story structure, because yeah, it's been quite a few issues since we've had that. I guess it would be back at issue 37 that really felt like kind of a normal issue. Then we had the Alan Moore issue. Last time we had the Haunted Mansion issue, and now we have the Christmas issue. So been a little bit. So we'll have to see how it plays out next time. But that's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate you guys joining me as always. As always, we appreciate your support, and thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.